It's like great personalities. It's like Santos. Oh, Santos is more the disciplinary side than he is the appearance. Hopefully Krishna will find. All right, let's get into that.
Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Pajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Pajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Mishnapad Paramahansa Parivrikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesh abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of November 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 27, Understanding Material Nature, text number 25. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavhanartha brit sa eva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavhanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Anyone else? Yataya pratibuddhasya prasvapo bhavanartha brit Saheva pratibuddhasya navaimohaya kalpate. Yata, as he, indeed, apratibuddhasya, of one who is sleeping, prasvapaha, the dream, bahu anartha brit, bearing many inauspicious things, saha eva, that very dream, pratibuddhasya, of one who is awake, na, not, by, certainly, mohaya, for bewildering, kalpate, is capable. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered, and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Please repeat. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered. And one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the condition of dreaming, when one's consciousness is almost covered, one may see many unfavorable things which cause disturbance or anxiety. But upon awakening, although he remembers what happened in the dream, he is not disturbed. Similarly, the position of self-realization or understanding of one's real relationship with the Supreme Lord makes one completely satisfied, and the three modes of material nature, which are the cause of all disturbances, cannot affect him. In contaminated consciousness, one sees everything to be for his own enjoyment. But in pure consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, he sees that everything exists for the enjoyment of the Supreme Enjoyer. That is the difference between the dream state and wakefulness. The state of contaminated consciousness is compared to dream consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is compared to the awakened stage of life. Actually, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the only absolute enjoyer is Krishna. One who can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds, and that he is the friend of everyone, is peaceful and independent. As long as a conditioned soul does not have this knowledge, he wants to be the enjoyer of everything. He wants to become a humanitarian or philanthropist and open hospitals and schools for his fellow human beings. This is all illusion, for one cannot benefit anyone by such material activities. If one wishes to benefit his fellow brother, he must awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious position is that of pratibuddha, which means pure consciousness. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So Kapila Muni is continuing to describe to his mother the state of self-realization, God-realization, in which, as she questioned, the soul is disentangled from its involvement in the material world. She was asking actually how the soul, with this mind, the mind enters into all of the things of this world, and the things of the world enter into the mind. And it seems like an impossible task to disentangle them after all of these births of material life. But Kapila Dev says, no, it's not impossible. And he uses this word again, tivra bhakti, by intense devotion unto me, unto Krishna, engaging the mind and the senses and the intelligence and everything else that we have in the service of Krishna, one can purify one's desires. This is the key phrase. The desires since time immemorial have been for sense gratification. And that's compared here to a bad dream. It's a nightmare, really. Because Krishna is ultimately the only enjoyer, and we're imitating his enjoying spirit. And it's unnatural. It's unnatural for us, first of all, to be entangled in the material world, and it's totally unnatural for us to enjoy these senses and hope to get any happiness thereby. The way things are set up is that whatever happiness you do enjoy in this world, which is very flickering and insignificant, still is the source of your misery. In and of itself, and also because it keeps you coming back again to suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. The big miseries that you can't get away from in the material world. So here it uses these two words, apratibuddhasya and pratibuddhasya, a very interesting configuration. Contrasting one who is asleep and one who is awake. In many ways, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to be waking up. Jeev jago, jeev jago. We all heard that song many times. So how is it that we're asleep? Because our awareness of who we actually are is all covered, and we're constantly producing this dream of the material life. And it's been going on since time immemorial. And I would like to share with you one verse that really struck me when I first read it. It's in the teachings of the 9 Yogendras, which are really varied and wonderful. And in the first lesson, this verse comes after the verse about fear. Bhayam tutiya banavesha sakshat ishadapeta sivaparyo asmati tanmayato buddhabajetam bhaktyakayesham gurudeva tapma. Prabhu will quote this verse. The fear arises from vidya banaveshita syad. Syad means it comes into being. When we see the duality. Duality in this context means seeing something, the material energy is separate from God, separate from Krishna. We completely detach it and we forget all about Krishna. Ishada petasya, that's the next line, turning away from the Isha, from the Lord. And we become absorbed in his material energy and we completely forget the connection. We forget that it's his energy. So then viparyayo and asmriti follow. Viparyayo means reversal of position. Instead of being the servant of the Lord, we become his competitor. Instead of seeing things that are sources of misery, namely the sense gratification, we see them as sources of pleasure. This is the reversal. And we forget everything about our actual situation, and we're bewildered. We're living in the dream, which was created by his Maya. The Isha's Maya. Tanmayayata. Ato, therefore, one who is intelligent, Buddha, Abhajetam, will worship him, that Isha, Bhakti Aikayesham, key phrase, with one pointed devotion, with pure devotion. Mixed devotion isn't going to cut it. That's trying to go both ways. Yes, I'll worship God to increase my enjoyment in this world. Doesn't work. You can't move in two directions at once. That maintains your entanglement. So Bhakti Aikayesh, worshipping the Isha with one pointed devotion, and very important phrase, the last one, Guru Devatatma, which means actually seeing the spiritual master as one's worshipable deity and very life and soul. Guru Devatatma. Now, the verse that specifically talks about the dreaming state, which is what we're talking here. This is 11:2:37 and 38. I'll spare you all the Sanskrit. Avidyamano yavabhati hi dvayo. But these two verses go together. And there's a nice little expanded translation here. Although the duality of the material world does not ultimately exist, meaning its difference from the Lord, the conditioned soul experiences it as real under the influence of his own conditioned intelligence. This imaginary experience of a world separate from Krishna is like the acts of dreaming and desiring. Dreaming means night dream and desiring means daydream. When the conditioned soul dreams at night of something desirable or horrible, or when he daydreams of what he would like to have or avoid, he creates a reality that has no existence beyond his own imagination. The tendency of the mind is to accept and reject various activities based on sense gratification. Therefore, an intelligent person should control the mind, restricting it from the illusion of seeing things separate from Krishna. And when the mind is thus controlled, he will experience actual fearlessness. So the idea is that in this state where the intelligence has decided or created this illusory reality, which has no basis in fact, that there is a world separate from Krishna and that I have no relation to Krishna, there isn't even a God and all of these things. That's a dream state. The mind then induces one to act in such a way to get entangled in sankalpa vikalpa, the attraction and the repulsion. And thus you're completely absorbed in this dreamlike state. And it goes on and on and on. Now interestingly enough, birth after birth. Now interestingly enough, when Srila Prabhupada was asked in 1972, I think it was, by Madhudvish Swami at the time, to write something or speak something definitively describing how we fell from the spiritual world and all these things. He dictated an essay that was then became known as the Crow and Tal letter. I can explain that if you're interested. But in that explanation, he describes it exactly in these terms as dreaming. Is that we're in the spiritual world. This is Prabhupada, this is Siddhanta. This is what I accept. And somehow or other, and there's no other explanation, we get this idea of competing with Krishna, enjoying separate from him. And we're immediately put into a kind of a sleeping condition with a dream, dreaming that we can be like that. And these material lives are a succession of dreams in all different kinds of species and different situations. And when we're fortunate enough to get the inspiration, get an association of someone who's not dreaming, who's transcendental, the pure devotee, the seed of devotion can be planted in the form of the instructions, as explained by Rupa Goswami, by which we can dissipate this dream, wake up. We can wake up from this dreamlike state. And if we actually complete the process and wake up completely, then it's just like waking up to our eternal identity, which we forgot for all these millions of births of Brahma. And the time that's actually passed in the spiritual world, which doesn't have time, is like a split second. In other words, you like nod it off and you're dreaming, and then you're waking up and that's it. And that's what going back to God means. So in one sense, no one falls from the spiritual world. It's falling asleep. It's not some physical fall. The soul doesn't move at all. That's in the second chapter. So this idea of the dream is a very prominent in the 11th canto. I like to share this verse again. Why not? It's five times a verse. It appears 5 times in the Bhagavatam, and it's about the dreaming. It's very close to this one, but it's very compact. Arte vidyamanepi, arte vidyamanopi, arte vidyamanopi, samsutir nanavartate, dhyayato vishayanasya, swapne nartagamo yata. The word swapna is there. It's prominent in for today's verse also. So, in truth, this samsriti, our suffering, birth, old age, disease, and death, samsara, has no ultimate reality. But for those who are meditating on the objects of the senses to enjoy them, dhyayato vishayan, which is right out of the Gita, swapne nartagamo yata, this dream does not cease, and they continue to suffer the miseries. What's the difference if it's so-called real or not? If we take it as real, the sufferings are very much real, you see. To the proportion that we're trying to really enjoy the pleasures, we're going to be experiencing the suffering. So Krishna consciousness means to, as Kapila Deva is so nicely describing here, to wake up from this dream to the reality. And one of the parts of that reality is that there is actual genuine enjoyment there. And the enjoyment, understanding Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, or even the only enjoyer, as Prabhupada says here. But we can take pleasure in giving him enjoyment. That's our real pleasure. And that is unlimited. It makes perfect sense. He's God, he's infinite, and so his ability to enjoy is infinite. He all kind of unbelievable varieties of ways. We understand that, right, from reading Krishna book. So, if we can simply restore or revive our natural position of taking pleasure in his enjoyment, then our ability to enjoy expands. We don't know where. You see, and that's why we read, these amazing accounts and statements in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar Devotion, Bhagavatam, about how the great devotee, the Anandambudhi Vardhanam, the ever-increasing ocean of bliss. Well, okay, so it's an ocean of bliss, but ever-increasing? How does that happen? Because Krishna is like that. His enjoyment is expanding unlimitedly. So that's what Prabhupada came to give, what Lord Chaitanya came to teach, is that it's all a big mistake. Everything you believe is wrong, right? Isn't that what Bodhananda Sarati? Oh, sir, you're very, very wonderful, very wise. Now give up everything. Give up all of your ideas and surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. So that's actually a fact, and that's why this is truly a revolutionary movement. Tadbhag Vasargo Janadaga Viplavo. The words, the transcendental sound of Bhagavatam, the holy name, when vibrated purely, and they bring about a revolution personally, and in this world misdirected civilization, which after all is simply a result of all of millions and millions of people in different stages of life and different positions in society being in illusion and creating this vast society, which is a mistake. It's a big mistake. No one can be happy here. I mean, I've been around for 69 years, and I've been studying aware socially. I grew up in a family which was very political, and there's never been a time where it's fine to be peace and prosperity reign. There may be little, individual persons who can get that for some time, but it's crazy. I remember when I grew up, we had this, we were idealizing the Soviet Union, USSR. There was a magazine called USSR. It was an answer to Life magazine. And full color, big format. You remember those big format magazines? Every page glossy with big color. And inside were, of course, staged, pictures of wonderfully blissful Russians enjoying the social union. And that was my ideal. I said, we should have a revolution here, That'd make it. So that was my illusion, But it's not like there's some other material process that can create an ideal situation. It's always going to be like, because you're going to have people in the modes of nature. You're going to have those who have the karma to get on top, to exploit the others. You're going to have different ideologies growing up, and it's like your dream state, You try to do something in the dream, but it's acting according to different rules. It's not the same thing, and you don't know who you are, and it's a big mistake. It's just like that. So here, the idea is, don't try to adjust the dream. Wake up. The solution is waking up. The solution is waking up, which means a complete reversal from the wrong position to the right position. I love to cite this prayer by Akrura. He's the he's the exemplar for prayers. So in the 40th chapter, 10th canto, he has this series of prayers. It just struck me when I first read it, and I memorized them. I don't have them all memorized now, but one especially, he says, because he's also identifying, I'm also a conditioned soul. He says, these conditioned souls are wandering and suffering their karma, but I'm also like that. I'm completely identifying with my body, my wife, the children, the host, and everything. And in this way, this is the one I especially focus on. Anityanatma dukkeshu viparya materiyaham. Here's that word viparya again. Dvandvaramas tamo vishto najane tvatmanak priyam. So this is right nicely describing the condition of the illusion soul, of the conditioned soul. Everything is upside down, viparya. Anityanatma dukkeshu viparya. That which is anitya, which is temporary, I'm taking to be eternal. I'm taking to be permanent. It's like people live as if they're going to live forever. Right? You just live, now I got it figured out. I got my wife, got my kids, I got my insurance, I got everything, got my job. Even though they know, by just looking down the street or, that it can all collapse at any moment, beginning with the job. That's like, So that I'm taking what's temporary to be eternal. I'm taking what's not me to be me, namely the body and its extensions. And I'm taking what are sources of misery to be sources of happiness. And this is the real kicker. Because and in that condition, dvandvaramas, I'm trying to enjoy the dualities of this world, and tamo vishto, entering further and further into darkness, further and further into the dream state. And the real tragedy is najane tvatmanak priyam. I have no idea, I've forgotten completely that you are my dearmost master and friend, and like that. I'm just like yatabudu jalam hitva parichannam todudbhavai habbeti magatishnam vai. Tadvat faham paranmukha. So this paranmukha means turning the face away, just like the isha de petasya. The idea, why we're never supposed to sit with our back to the Lord. I try not to even stand with my back to Krishna. It's an offense if someone's trying, loves you and you turn your back on them. You can imagine. The Romans knew it. Remember? So he says, I'm just like a fool standing in an oasis, looking out in the desert. I'm very thirsty. Yata abudo, jalam hitva. And I give up the water at my feet. It's a nice pool, pure water at my feet. Unfortunately, it's overgrown with grasses and all kinds of vegetation. And I don't see it there. I look out into the desert. Oh, there's a beautiful pool out there, But it's a mrigatrishna. Mrigatrishna means that which the deer thirsts for. That which the animals thirst for, the foolish animals. In other words, a mirage. I was probably a mirage. And I've run after that. That's exactly like we are. We're sitting here, every living entity, and especially human beings, we have the ocean of bliss, the reservoir of pleasure, in our hearts. Krishna's there, right? And wherever Krishna is there, as Prabhupada famously said, he's not alone. The whole spiritual world is there. It doesn't, right in your heart. In other words, it's available to us. We don't know it's there. That's the key. We don't know it's there, and we're going out into the external. Bahirartha manina, as Prahlad says, looking externally for value, for pleasure. So we don't realize it all the time, but whenever we're chanting, whenever we're Krishna conscious, we're connecting with the Lord in the heart. And that's why there's this pleasure coming, because we're on the spiritual platform internally. And so to stay on that awake platform, the problem is that we wake up a little bit and then we say, oh, I'm going to go back to sleep. We stay awake permanently. That's what it means to be an initiative platform and the attraction and the higher levels of devotional service. And it's what's so wonderful. It's a very scientific process. Means if you follow the principles as they're given out, you're sure to get the result. The hard part is to really follow them strictly, and through the sadhana bhakti, the Vaidhi bhakti. Vaidhi bhakti simply means rules and regulations. If anyone who's serious comes to the temple, especially if you want to live in the temple, you have to do this, do this, don't do this, do this. And if you actually follow those, you feel yourself progressing. We all do. But to sustain that, year after year and really push through the barriers, because Maya sends so many subtle barriers also. And Prabhu was once asked, he was on a morning walk, I think, and he says, he asked the devotees who were on the walk, what is the biggest impediment to progress in Krishna consciousness? And several said, well, sex desire, overeating, anger, or whatever. And he said, no, sleep. Yeah, it's sleep. That's very appropriate, trying to wake up. Sleep, in all its larger meaning also, is our desire to not wake up fully, because it's so alien to how we've been living, that we're not the masters, we're eternal servants. And the more that we can be on that, Trinada Pisuni Chaina platform, one devotee called me, I talked to him quite often, and he quoted a verse from the Mukunda Mala, because I gave one to him that was really nice, and it's appropriate to this. It's the idea of being in the well or being in dreaming. It's all the same idea, the blind well. So he says, Mukunda Kulashekar says, Andhasya me rita viveka mahadhanasya chaurai prabho balabud indriya nama dehai mohanda kupagahadeva nipatatasya devesha dehi kapanasya kanavalambam. It's a prayer. So he's describing the situation I can relate to. He says, my dear Lord, O Lord of the gods, Devesha, my enemies, the thieves of my senses, have blinded me, stolen my great treasure, which is my discrimination, and thrown me into the blind well of illusion. Mohanda kupaghareva nipatatasya. So then he said, my Lord, O Devesha Dehi Kripanasya Kadavalam, please save this wretched soul by reaching your hand of mercy down and pulling me out of this well. So the other one that he quoted was, Mad janmanak palamidam madukaita bhare, Mad prataniya madanugra esha eva, Trad britya paricharika brityasya britya itimam svanalokanata. Everyone knows das anu das, but this is to the nth degree. My dear Lord, please make my birth fruitful. This will be your great mercy upon me if you do this. Just consider me the servant of 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 the servant. I mean, that's like, just try that mentality on the ordinary person. I'm not, I'm completely independent. Now that's another thing he's talking about here, becoming independent and being in his own glory. That was the last verse, right? So, the idea is that you can't really be independent. You're going to be either take shelter of the internal energy or the external energy, as Krishna says in the 9th chapter. So, but you can have the illusion, you can convince yourself that you're independent while you're tightly bound by the modes of nature, and you're a servant of all these senses. You're a servant of lust, anger, greed, illusion. But you have the illusion of independence. That's Maya's trick, right? Yeah, I'm independent. I can drive down to Walmart and buy these toys for my kid, or I can not go. I can do this, do that. Yeah, right. You're independent to walk from this side of the cell to that side of the cell, basically. So our real independence means no more being dependent or bound up by these demands of the illusory energy. It's the same verse, Kama dinam katina katita, Prabhu would quote sometimes. That, my dear Lord, the Kama, etc., are like evil masters, and they've been ordering me and enslaving me since time immemorial. Kama dinam katina palita dhuni deshas. So many demands, and I've faithfully served them, but they've never been satisfied. And then they show me no mercy, and they're not giving me up. But now, Utsid Jaitan Nadi Yadupate, O Yadupate, Lord of the Yadus, Krishna, I'm rejecting these demands, but that's not enough. Now I'm approaching you. Please engage me in your service. We have to serve either the lust, anger, and greed, or Krishna's lotus feet. And we learn in Krishna consciousness from experience as well as from philosophy the great benefits of serving Krishna rather than Maya. So, and that's really our independence. It means the soul becomes free from the thrall, from the control of the material energy. Maya gives him up. That's one of the things. You know, she no longer dominates or enslaves us. After all, she's a servant of Krishna. You're reformed, you know. But then you're free to really experience your actual nature as a spiritual being. You know, every moment is a dance. Every word is a song, and we really need to hear about the spiritual world. In contrast, you know. So, fully such actions cannot bewilder him. So we cannot be bewildered. Let me just go through this purpose here. What I missed. So the satisfaction comes. This is another theme, you know, one is never satisfied in the material world. You may become temporarily satiated, you know, but then the next moment or the next hour, you know, you're not satisfied. You have to go back, you have to leave, you have to do something new to maintain your situation. And then come, you know, the really, you know, horrible things that happen to you. Some injury, it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be financial. You know, our situation is so delicate here. Sometimes I just, you know, realize how delicate this body is. You know, everything has to go just right so that you can just feel decent in order to just work. And as you get older, it becomes harder to feel like that. And then you have some condition, you know, and you know, like I like to jump, you know, in kirtan, but I know that if I jump up and down for a little bit, I'm going to have trouble walking the next day. My ankle's going to be a problem. It's, you know, the stone floor. Your body doesn't work. I used to do it as you know, a 25-year-old. It was no big deal. So that's what old age means. Gradually, you're restricted in what you can do, and you try to make peace with that. And say, yeah, but I can still, you know, enjoy, you know, this. You know. But if you're actually Krishna conscious, you know, we saw Prabhupada. His body was getting older, you know. But he was in bliss, you know, come on, he was, you know, because it's not restricted by the body. It's actually a fact. Just like these shlokas, you know, I'm always spouting, you know. And they never fail to enliven, you know. I'll share one with you. I memorized recently. I'm trying to memorize to keep the old brain pan going, you know, so they don't fall off. And maybe I won't get Alzheimer's after all. So he says, I says, Radha Kanchana Balli Pulla, Krishnastu Pulla Tapincha, Anayo Sangama Lakshmi Sukiyati Nahikam Sachetanam Lokam. One of these far out verses. So he says, Srimati Radharani is like a golden blossoming creeper, and Krishna is like a blossoming tamal tree. What sentient person would not take pleasure, become happy to see how beautiful they are together? You can say that to the beautiful deities. Who would not, you know, and just to feel pleasure at seeing how beautiful Radha and Giridhari are, that's a rare gift in this world. We should count our stars, you know, our lucky stars, how fortunate we are, the fortunate few, to be able to come every day and see the Lord, you know, even whenever we can see them. It's a great gift. They've agreed to come here, you know, and appear in this Archamurti. and the wonderful pujaris who seriously take serious, to dress them beautifully, to enhance they're already beautiful. They're making the ornaments beautiful, I know. But the idea is that, and then just to have the great fortune of seeing them. To really, you see the great devotees, they appreciate every little thing. It's describing how in this same series of verses with Bhayam Dutiya Benaveshita, Kayena Vacha Manasendriyava, that the great devotees at every step, they're with their mind, their body, the senses, the intelligence, everything you got, saying, oh, this is an offering to Narayan. If you can actually live your life that way, which is what pure devotion is, imagine, that every step is an act of a loving gesture and an act for the Lord. When is there going to be a fall off of your peacefulness and happiness in that regard? So that's the state of the pure devotees. Always remembering perfectly, and then everything, no action, no thought even, that's separate from the realm of devotional service. That's what the spiritual world is. So, we've come to that special time. I'll read the translation again. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered, and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. This is real independence. Yes, Bob?
Thank you for so many things.
Thank you for coming. We see you.
So these impediments, these anarthas, the ones who plague us the most, is it a lot of them, what I'm gathering, maybe the same ones have been with us birth after birth after birth. That's why they're so hard to.
We've been cultivating them very nicely. Yeah.
I get the principles and the suggestions and the regimen. And it's just application.
Yeah, that's why I keep saying tivrena. Serious. Prabhu you translate one time as serious, other places intense devotional service. Yeah, that's the only way to get out of it. That's why the kirtan is so essential, because sankirtan is a time when you can let it out. You can chant as loud as you want, and really appeal to the Lord from the heart. That's the meaning of it. It's the simplest cry that could be, Hare Krishna, please engage me in your service. Please, smash to smithereens this latent desire to be independent from you. You know what I mean? That's.
Well, I noticed recently that it's like, I spend time with my family and stuff, and it's like, I'm like recognizing that there's, everyone has these issues, and there's, and they have nothing to do with me,
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do to assist, or, the only thing I feel at this point I can do is advance spiritually and give good example,
Association is key. Okay, yeah. If you associate with devotees, you'll pick up, you'll get inspired to. Association with others is going to be a big burden. Yeah.
I think it seems just not teach me rocket technology.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
I'm in the verse in the Bhagavatam day and night. So it was a very nice class about how materialists are in a dreamlike state. They will say they're absolutely convinced we're in a dreamlike state.
Right.
We're wasting our lives, we're just dreaming away. So who's right?
We are.
Everybody else is wrong.
Exactly. But that's not. I'm right.
Another question.